It all began on an ordinary Tuesday evening, though the memory of it would linger far longer than I expected. I had just come home from an exhausting day at work, hoping for the usual comfort of dinner and the familiarity of home. Instead, Claire looked at me with a smirk that carried more disdain than humor and said, "I'm not your cook. Figure out yourself." The word stopped me cold. For a moment, I thought I had misheard her. After years of shared routines, countless dinners she'd made without complaint, her sudden, sharp dismissal felt like a deliberate challenge. The arrogance in her tone, the way she brushed aside years of partnership, sparked a flicker of anger inside me. But instead of letting it take over, I held it back. Reacting in anger would only feed her need for control. I realized if she wanted to step away from something as simple as dinner, then fine. I would remove her power to make it a weapon. So I chose not to argue, not to raise my voice. Instead, I decided to think carefully and act strategically. The next morning, I made a call. A friend had once mentioned a private chef, professional, discreet, reliable. By evening, fresh ingredient arrived, and the chef began preparing a week's worth of gourmet meals. When Claire came home, she wasn't greeted by silence or frustration, but by the smell of perfectly cooked dishes and a neatly set table. Her smirk faltered. She had expected anger, maybe pleading or annoyance. Instead, she found composure and quiet independence staring back at her. Over the following days, the chef continued his work, preparing flawless meals. Claire tried to mask her discomfort behind sarcasm, tossing out comments about how unnecessary the whole arrangement was. I didn't react. I simply ate in calm silence, letting her words fall away like static. Each attempt to regain control only emphasized her frustration and my calm resolve. The balance between us had shifted, and she felt it. As a week passed, her confidence began to waver. The playful smirk faded, replaced first by curiosity, then by unease. She tried to involve herself, offering advice, pretending to help. But her timing was off, her tone forced. It was obvious she was struggling to reclaim some influence over the space she'd once dominated. I watched quietly, noting every subtle shift in her behavior. The lesson was taking root. By the second week, the sarcasm disappeared altogether. Her comments grew softer, her demeanor uncertain. I could see the realization forming. She was no longer the one in control. She began to ask questions gently, testing boundaries, hoping I'd respond in a way that reassured her of her old position. But I didn't budge. I stayed consistent, calm, and deliberate. The silence between us became her teacher. Eventually, the tension broke. She started to plead, not for dinner, but for acknowledgement, for inclusion. Her words carried traces of desperation, not pride. She wasn't just worried about meals anymore. She was afraid of losing her influence altogether. Every attempt to charm or manipulate me fell flat. The arrogance that once filled her voice had vanished. I hadn't needed to raise my voice or make threats. The entire lesson was taught through quiet, precise action, hiring a chef, maintaining boundaries, and refusing to engage in emotional warfare she craved. Claire had assumed my reactions would be impulsive and predictable. Instead, I showed her the strength of patience, composure, and quiet authority. By the end of the month, she finally understood what she'd lost. Her smirk, her dismissive tone gone. In their place, a silent recognition of the new boundaries I'd drawn. She begged, yes, but by then it was far too late. The lesson had been delivered, clean and final. This had never been about dinner. It was about respect, control, and self-worth. Claire had mocked, tested, and underestimated me. But through calm, deliberate action, I'd taken back my power without a single outburst. In the end, she learned the truth the hard way. Arrogance fades fast when it meets quiet strength.